all. So this one might be a little bit different. We're not doing anything on the UI right now. But this is something that I've wanted to do for a little while, which is that CSV file that we originally had. I have cursor open here. You can see I don't actually have a file anymore. What I have instead is I have an athletes.duckdb database here. And so I'm using a tool in VS Code called DB Code Database Management. And it's just a free extension that you can download and install. And then all you have to do is just right click on the file and say open with DB Code here. And it opens the database. You can view the files, the tables here. And so we have a table basically with everything that we did have in that CSV. And this will just enable us to, going forward, to be able to do other cool things like filter this database and be able to actually write our own data to it. So that's the plan here, so let's get into it. Alright, so back in VS Code here, the first thing that we're going to want to do is pipenv install duckdb to install the actual package that we need. Alright, so now that that's installed, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new file here, call it convert.py. And so this is going to be our conversion script that converts the CSV into a new database file that this script is going to automatically create. So what I did for this script here is I didn't write this. AI wrote this for me. I'll freely admit that. I basically just prompted it like, give me a file that will convert CSV over to Duckdb, and this is what it spit out for me. So it's using Duckdb, obviously, in order to make the database, and then it's using pandas to use the CSV. So if we go down to the main function here to see where it starts, so first it sets up the path, it checks that the path exists, and then convert CSV to DuckDB. So if we do a Control F on that, go up here. So now it's actually converting this. So this is what it actually does. Is first we're using duckdb.connect and connecting to the actual database path that we specify, which is athletes.duckdb. And then what we're doing is we're reading in the CSV. AI gave me a lot of print debugging for some reason. I guess it's good. And then it basically made a big long SQL statement that basically creates a new table in here called athletes, gives it all the columns and the data types that are associated with it, and then it just inserts into the athletes table everything from the data frame that we have, right? Yeah, the data frame read the CSV, so it's basically just doing an insert statement on everything from that CSV. Then it's creating some handy indices that can make it. Indices are just a way to make it a little bit faster when you are searching on certain columns. And then it's just verifying the results are in there. It's doing a little bit more verification, some error handling, so that if it doesn't work for some reason, then it spits out an error. Then it has a separate verification function that is used here after the conversion function, and this will basically connect to the database again. So like we were using it if we were actually connecting to it from our application. And it's just doing a couple queries here, selecting the top rows, the unique athletes, etc., and just describing that query so that we can see that it actually works. And that's pretty much this whole script here. So, let's go give it a shot. Let's see. pipenv I'm going to do because we want to be in the virtual environment. That's where I'm putting everything. And then run, and then just Python. Yeah, I could just use convert.py. And I realized I actually forgot to save the file, so save the file first, and then run it again. And you can see it making our file right here. So I don't have the extension right now, so let's go grab the extension. Where is the extension tab? Right here. And what was it? DB code? Yes. Install. Trust the publisher. And okay. So that should work. So now, open with DB code. And it opens it up for us, so we can go ahead and here, let's get some of these out of the way. I can't really. It's a little too scrunched. There we go. Okay, and that is our whole CSV. Okay, so now that we've done that, we want to actually read our database file. So what we're going to do is we're just going to create a variable, call it db equals, and then it'll just be athletes dot duckdb. And then what we want to do is we just want to do if os dot, oh, I don't have os up here, do I? Or Duckdb for that matter. So let's go ahead and do that. So import Duckdb, there it is, and then import os. There it is. Okay. Os dot, there we go. Great. Os dot path dot exists because we want to test if it exists first, and let's actually call this a variable dbPath. That'll look better. So we want to test that that exists first. And I'm just going to put that right now so that I can say else and print f unable to load file from and then we'll just put in the db path. Okay, so now back up here, what do we want to do? We want to connect to the database, so that'll just be like what we saw before in the conversion script. So that'll just be duckdb dot connect and then db path, and then we want to actually return a data frame still, right? Because that's what we were doing before. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is, okay, let's see what I'm doing. I'm just looking at my notes over here. So con equals, set that to a variable, and then we can say con.execute. Good. So now we have a proper object, And now we can put in some sequels. So we'll just say select star from athletes. And then what we want to do is we want to make that into a data frame. And then rather than just say return df, what we want to do, this isn't specific to Duckdb, this is most database connections, is we're going to want to close it. So we'll say con dot close. Okay, then we can just go ahead and save that. Alright, so if you load up the actual file, you'll just get that an error has occurred, which is expected. So this IO error could not set a lock on the file. So this happens because I'll show you. I've run into this before. So what we want to do here is if we go to, first of all, we want to disconnect, because that's what it's complaining about, right? Is this VS Code, is what's in VS Code here. So if we go to edit connection, and when we're viewing this, we only want it to be read-only. So if you view the app now, even with read-only, you'll see that we still get an error, but we get a different error. That's because this database connection here is an unserializable object. So Streamlit has two caching mechanisms. One is st.cachedata, and that's used mostly for, we've been using that mostly for functions, so that the entire thing is cached. But for things like database connections, we want to use something else called streamlit.cacheResource, as you can see from this page here. So it's the recommended way to cache global resources. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's just change that to st.cacheResource. And if you've been following along, you also notice you get this error down here, which is just because I copied this wrong. This is supposed to be a method right here. So let's save that, bring that over, and there we go. Now we're getting our actual thing. Alright, so now that we have that in database, that sets us up for success later on. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.